y'all, it's Cam again. So this will be video 4. I'm digging into conspiracy theories that Israel had something to do with 9/11. And that's because I've seen it several times where people said that. They're like, Israel did 9/11, not Muslims or not Al Qaeda, even though Osama bin Laden wrote a letter to America and said exactly why he did it. I posted a video. There's a couple probably in the actual playlist of stuff that he had said over the years and why he did it. But I asked ChatGPT why people claim that Israel, had anything to do with the 9/11 attacks. And so it gave me a bunch of sources, and that's kind of what I'm going through right now. So let's get back over here. So we're still digging into some of the people that are anti-Semitic and that have said things about Israel. I'm not taking necessarily side. I'm just trying to understand why they say that Israel had something to do with it. But anyway, this Louis Farrakhan, he's been a very controversial figure for many, many years with this Nation of Islam. Very, very. I remember him as a kid, and he was just very controversial even then. But anyway, let's go on. So, the Nation of Islam, or NOI, is a Black nationalist organization which has maintained a consistent record of anti Semitism and bigotry since its founding in the 1930s. The NOI, led by longtime leader Louis Farrakhan, peddles numerous anti Semitic stereotypes and conspiracy theories, including blaming Jews and Zionists for the 9/11 terrorist attacks, by claiming that 9/11 was a false flag operation designed to help Israel and provoke a war on Islam. The group's official newspaper, The Final Call, and the Nation of Islam Research Group, or NORG, have also repeatedly published these claims over the past 2 decades, including in a series in in a 2016 series of interviews with prominent 9/11 conspiracy theorists Kevin Barrett, Christopher Boland, James Fetzer, and Richard Gage. Barrett, Boland, and Gage also spoke on a panel at the NOI's 2017 Savior's Day conference titled 9/11 Revisited, Uncovered, and Exposed, which again blamed Jews for orchestrating the attacks. A small group of Zionists and others are involved in planning against Islamic nations. Those who plotted the 9/11 false flag operation are members of the Synagogue of Satan, spoken of in the Bible, and must be exposed. And my job is to expose them. Louis Farrakhan, Tennessee State University, April 2016. They needed some event that was cataclysmic that would make the American people rise up ready for war. They plotted a false flag operation, and when a government is so rotten that they will kill innocent people to accomplish a political objective, you're not dealing with the human, you're dealing with Satan himself, the synagogue of Satan. Now they got into the Bush administration, and on 9/11, the Twin Towers went down. George Bush and those devils, Satan's around him, they plotted 9/11. Ain't no Muslim took control of no plane. Louis Farrakhan, Savior's Day, February 2016. Owen Benjamin. Owen Benjamin's a former actor and comedian who became an anti Semitic right wing ideologue in 2018. He promotes Holocaust denial and anti Semitic claims about Jewish power and control, as well as other conspiratorial, racist, anti LGBTQ, plus, and anti Asian views. Benjamin hosts daily video streams, which have accumulated tens of millions of views online. He continues to circumvent social media websites' repeated attempts to deplatform his content for policy violations. Benjamin has called 9/11 mind-blowingly deceptive and claims that the official explanation for the attacks was entirely fabricated. He implicates Jews, who he commonly refers to as grabblers. I don't know what that means, in reference to the stereotype that Jews are greedy and want to grabble up money, is in this supposed conspiracy. Benjamin claims that debris found on site after the attacks were props and that observations from eyewitnesses and news anchors were scripted lines designed to deceive the American public. Steel frame buildings have existed for over 100 years. Only three have collapsed due to fire. All three were leased by the same man, and all three collapsed on the same day. The grabbler is Larry Silverstein. He couldn't help himself but to do a little grabbler lightning. He took out insurance policies on all his buildings for a terrorist attack. He couldn't help himself. Owen Benjamin, September 2019. Paul Craig Roberts is an anti-Semitic columnist and conspiracy theorist. He's a regular contributor to the UNZ Review. He describes 9/11 as a false flag event, claiming that Israel and the U.S. government orchestrated the attacks. Roberts similarly claims that the 2015 terror attack at the Charlie Hebdo office in Paris was a false flag operation committed by Israel to nefariously influence the French government's policy on the Middle East, claims which he articulated in his contribution to a book of essays about the attack, edited by fellow anti-Semite and 9/11 conspiracy theorist Kevin Barrett. The neoconservative who dominated the Cheney-Bush government identified the Arab Middle East as the enemy and said a new Pearl Harbor was needed to provide wars to overthrow 7 countries in 5 years. To provide the new Pearl Harbor, Cheney, the neoconservatives, and Israel orchestrated the attacks on the WTC and Pentagon. 9/11 was a deep state operation. Paul Craig Roberts, September 2020. Paul Miller, better known as his screen name, Gypsy Crusader. Paul Miller is a white supremacist accelerationist who has engaged in online and offline harassment and propaganda activities. He engaged with the Boogaloo movement in 2020 and became increasingly popular in extremist circles over the next year, posting videos of himself harassing women and minorities on Omegle and selling white supremacist patches to his followers. Miller has peddled anti-Semitic 9/11 conspiracy theories, including in a series of Telegram posts coinciding with the 2020 anniversary of the attacks. Miller, who has been closely tracked by ADL's Center on Extremism, was arrested by the FBI in March 2021 on weapons charges and pleaded guilty to three federal charges in June of 2021. Jews and Muslims working together killed Americans 19 years ago today. Now they play the victim because we know the truth. Voting will not remove them. Paul Miller, Telegram, September 2020. Anti-Semitic 9/11 memes posted by Miller on Telegram in September of 2020. Ugh. Okay, Philip Giraldi and the Council for National Interests. Philip Giraldi is an anti-Semite conspiracy theorist and former CIA employee. Giraldi, alongside fellow anti-Semite Allison Weir, I don't know, heads the Council for National Interests, or CNI, an anti-Israel organization and analysis website. CNI frequently delves into anti-Semitic tropes about alleged Zionist or Israeli control over political affairs. Giraldi is also a contributor to the anti-Semitic online publication, the UNZ Review. Giraldi has published conspiratorial articles blaming Israel for the 9/11 attacks on both the CNI and the UNZ Review websites. Israel, in spite of obvious involvement in 9/11, was not included in the 9/11 Commission report, despite the existence of an enormous Israeli intelligence operation freely working in the United States that was known to the FBI. Working on an intelligence operation does not necessarily imply participation in either the planning or execution of something like 9/11, but there are Israeli fingerprints all over the place, with cover companies and intelligence personnel often intersecting with locations frequented by the hijackers. Philip Giraldi, the UNZ Review, May of 2019. To be sure, 9/11 was a gift to Israel and is a gift that keeps on giving. America is at war in a number of Muslim countries, and its troops blanket the Middle East, to include a base in Israel dedicated to the defense of that country. It is all a result of the global war on terror, and the GWOT started with 9/11. And just maybe it was a fire that was ignited by Israel. Philip Giraldi, UNZ Review, May of 2019. Rick Wiles and True News. True News, founded and hosted by Rick Wiles, is a fundamentalist Christian streaming platform that features anti Semitic and anti Zionist content and also has a long record of disseminating radical Islamophobic and anti-LGBTQ plus messages. True News has been suspended from YouTube and Facebook for violating the platform's content policies. 9/11 wasn't done by Muslims. It was done by a wild card, the Israeli Mossad, that's cunning and ruthless and can carry out attacks on Americans and make it look like Arabs did it. Rick Wiles, True News, May of 2019. We're about to be pulled into another war in the Middle East to attack Iran, and they're going to do it the same way that they did 9/11. There's going to be a horrific attack, and there's going to be all this evidence that it was carried out by Iran. And then the people in America are going to be riled up to anger, to fury, to get revenge. It's going to have to be bloodletting. It's gonna have to be revenge. And all the while, the Israeli Zionists are sitting back in their offices laughing and smiling. They worked one more time, and thousands of American soldiers are going to die on the battlefield for Zionism. Rick Wiles, True News, May 2019. Robert David Steele. No, Steele died in August of 2021. Robert David Steele is a conspiracy theorist. He promotes a variety of conspiratorial views across multiple websites and platforms. An alleged Marine veteran and former CIA officer, Steele shares conspiratorial content on topics such as 9/11, QAnon, 5G, COVID-19, vaccines, and the 2020 U.S. presidential election. Steele created the nationwide Arise USA tour in 2021, which also featured Richard Mack, a former Oath Keeper and founder of the Constitutional Sheriffs and Peace Officers Association, CSPOA. During the tour, Steele and Mack promoted conspiracy theories and encouraged their audiences to take action by participating in local elections and school board meetings. I believe that both Cheney, long known to be owned by the Zionist state of Israel, and Yitzhak Rabin, one of the two Zionists in Dallas for JFK and soon to be a prime minister of Israel, agreed that 9/11 would be a heaven-sent opportunity to create the ultimate false flag terrorist event to justify a police state within the U.S. and eternal global war on a fictional enemy territory or terrorism abroad. The Zionists installed the controlled demolitions that assisted what I believe was clearly a directed energy controlled frequency event in the Twin Towers. Controlled demolitions alone for WTC 7 and a massive cover up was executed. 9/11 legal cases did not go to trial. Controlled Zionist judges and prosecutors ensured that all cases were generously settled so as to avoid any threat of discovery of demands for evidence that must be met. Robert David Steele, September 2020. Ron Unz and the UNZ Review, or UNZ. Ron Unz is the founder of the UNZ Review, an online publication which routinely posts anti Semitic content, including Holocaust denial and other conspiracy theories. UNZ has given a platform to a wide range of prominent anti Semites and white supremacists such as Kevin Barrett, E. Michael Jones, Eric Striker, and more. The UNZ Review has published numerous articles which promote anti Semitic 9/11 conspiracy theories. UNZ himself, or UNS, has increasingly embraced hardcore anti Semitism in recent years, including writing articles blaming Jews and Israel for the 9/11 attacks. Who actually attacked our country on 9/11? Certainly, no other nation in the world can remotely match Israel's track record of remarkably bold, high level assassinations and false flag attacks, terrorists and otherwise, against other countries, even including America and its military. Furthermore, the enormous dominance of Jewish and pro Israel elements in the American establishment media, and increasingly that of many other major countries in the West, has long ensured that even when the solid evidence of such attacks was discovered, very few ordinary Americans will ever hear those facts. The vast weight of the evidence clearly points in a single direction, implicating Israel and its Mossad intelligence service, with the case being overwhelmingly strong in motive, means, and opportunity. Ron Unz, The Unz Review, September 2018. Ryan Dawson is an anti-Semitic conspiracy theorist and influential 9/11 truther. Dawson has created several popular 9/11 documentaries over the years and promotes the anti-Semitic claim that the 9/11 attacks were a false flag operation carried out by Israel. In a 2011 documentary about 9/11 entitled War by Deception, Dawson claimed that Israeli intelligence and the Zionist cabal were responsible for the attacks. He runs an anti-neoconservative forum called the ANC Report and has collaborated with individuals across the right-wing ideological spectrum, including white supremacist Vincent James of the Red Elephants, anti-Semite Adam Green of No More News, and QAnon proponent Robert David Steele. Israel was celebrating the attack. They filmed the first plane hitting. No one knew that was about to happen. It was the Israeli state. They had highlighted Doric Towers and the World Trade Center on maps and visited the location the day before 9/11. They were celebrating because they knew it was going to get blamed on Muslims and that the U.S. was about to pound Iraq and all of Israel's enemies. Ryan Dawson, September of 2020. Wardo Rants, Edward Andrew Whitley, who is known online as Wardo Rants, shares anti-Semitic, racist, and conspiratorial video content across 14 different social media platforms. He frequently uses the video hosting platform BitChute to share his anti-Semitic rants, which he claims are exposing Jewish supremacy. With over 1,200 videos and over 5.4 million views on his channel, he blames Jews and Israel for the 9/11 terrorist attacks, claiming that these groups began planning the attacks in the late 1970s. Those 19 guys from Afghanistan, the Saudis did not do it. It was an Israeli operation. Look at the cover-up. The cover-up is essential in a false flag operation. They laid this trail, and the trail is meant to be picked up by the hapless media and investigators. And the trail leads to Mr. Muslim. The trail leads Obama bin Laden. You see, the trail leads to Saudi Arabia. The trail never leads to Israel. What I have found at every critical juncture of the creation of the idea from the 1970s to the preparation of the crime in the 80s and 90s to cover up to the obstruction of justice at every level of these decisions in these operations. We have either an Israeli or Zionist agent. Wardo Rance, August of 2021. Warren Ballow, and I don't know how you say that, and the National Justice Party. Warren Ballow uh, is a white supremacist and founding member of the National Justice Party, a white supremacist group and self-described political party which was formed in August of 2020. NJP is virulently anti-Semitic, blaming Jews for various ills of modern society. Balao, I don't know, currently serves as the group secretary. Balao and other NJP members previously attended the Unite the Rights rally in Charlottesville in 2017. Ballo blames Jews and Israel for the 9/11 attacks. There isn't a single issue with Islam from the American perspective that is not directly born of Jewish power and influence. 9/11 was an Israeli operation, and the propaganda used to justify endless Middle Eastern wars is given to us by the Jewish run media. Muslims weren't much of an issue before that. It always comes back to Jews. Warren Below, Telegram, May of 2021. I truly believe the satanic Jews who sketched out the response to 9/11, including the wars, the expansion of the surveillance state, the new powers taken on by the federal government, the precedent set by so-called enhanced interrogation, private mercenaries, assassination of American citizens, and so on, was put in place primarily for the purposes of eventually turning it all against white America, which they knew would someday turn against them. That's Warren Below. That's Telegram of January 2021. So anyway, yes, the Anti-Defamation League in New York is who wrote this. But I'm just, like I said, I'm just digging into it because I really have seen that a lot lately where people are saying that Israel had something to do with 9/11. I'm like, I don't know. I mean, I'm still not fully convinced, but it's whatever. It kind of just, I guess you just have to take information from different sources and hope what you're being told is correct. I don't know. But anyway, I will talk to y'all later. Have a good afternoon. I mean, I'll put this in the description if you want to go back to any of this. And I'll see y'all around. Bye.